Hello and a warm welcome to the start of the 2014 GT Asia Championship. It's a game that's been played out at speed with triumph and tragedy at almost every corner. GT Asia 2014 had a record number of entries and attracted the very best drivers in the world, and the most amount of different marks ever gathered in the region. Let's look back now at some of the action, and it all starts here, round one at the Korea International Circuit. Fantastic venues, some of the world's and the region's top drivers, and without doubt, the world's finest GT cars. Caldarelli on the pole position in the Aston Martin, but he will soon be under big pressure. First from the Ferrari, certainly plenty of drama in the first stint. Here's Alex Young clashing with one of the Ferraris early on. Then Kurosawa coming back into the lead, but only briefly. McLaren sits back up the inside. But the biggest drama of all was Jeffrey Lee, stuck out on track in the Audi, and that brought out the safety car. Jeffrey Lee was out of the race.
We had a clutch problem, the clutch slipped.
After the changes, McLaren led with Hamaguchi ahead of Mok Wing-sung in the Ferrari until this moment when Frank Yu spun him out of contention.
When I got hit from the back turnaround, hit again, got the radiator busted, then I had to pull the car to the side and stop. I felt sorry. We had contact.
On to the last lap, and massive pressure for the McLaren. Hamaguchi from Anthony Liu in second place at the Ferrari number 37. His teammate Davide Rizzo watching on anxiously as they came to the final few corners. Hamaguchi just went offline slightly onto the marbles. That's all it took. And with Hamaguchi out of the way, checkered flag waved for the number 37, 458 Ferrari, Anthony Liu, Italian. On then to round two. Again, perfect conditions here in Korea. Drivers getting more dialed in with every session. Certainly a lot to think about after race one. Rolling start again, but it would be the gentleman drivers this time. Pressure at the start for Matt Solomon. He's bounced over the curbs. Makes it through the first corner.
Then boom, straight got T-boned from the side, and something I wasn't expecting.
Matt Solomon doing an excellent job of carving his way through. Look at this move on Frank Yu. Superb. And as the clock ticked down here in round two, the pit stops and Alex Young comes out, the Absolute Racing Audi R8 ahead of the Ferrari number 37 of Davide Rizzo. Anthony Liu had done his bit. Now Rizzo was out on track, putting massive pressure on Alex Young, but what we didn't know was that Young was in trouble because the Audi R8 had left upright problems. It was soon out of the race completely, allowing the Ferrari to once again dominate in round two.
The front left upright broke, so we think it was contact from hitting the curb too hard on the first laps.
But it's the Ferrari of spirit of race. David Rizzo winning again. Let's start with the action from round three. Perfect conditions for racing, rolling start, mandatory pit stop, and action right from the get-go. It was the professional drivers up first, and that didn't seem to matter. Going into the first corner, Alex Young again in trouble in the Audi R8 with suspension. But unfortunately, it wasn't the same for Richard Lyons in the Aston Martin. The car seemingly coming to a halt, stuck in gear.
In effect, I actually had to turn the engine off and reset.
As Mok Wing-sung tried to hold off a hard challenge by Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the McLaren. The number 32 McLaren coming onto the main straight, definitely with the pace. He goes to the outside to get round Mok, then he's offline, hits the marbles, spins it round and into the gravel. Luckily, he was able to recover and finish on the podium.
I've been dreaming to dogfight with Wen on track past 3 years, so it was very fun to do.
Meanwhile, back at the front, the number 3 of Mok Wing-sung, Clearwater Racing, takes victory, their first of the season, and they were delighted. It was Kurosawa, his teammate.
Got a little bit lucky. Our teammates with the McLaren had a 8-second success time added to the pit stop, so that allowed us to come out ahead. And
On then to the highlights of round 4, once again at Autopolis. At the start of the race, Nathan Antunes on fire, literally.
Saw a bit of smoke coming out and flag marshal's running towards my car with fire extinguishers, and next thing you know, I'm popping my head out the window and it's on fire, so I got out of the car pretty quickly.
But out front was the number 32, then a spin for the number 13, the Nissan, the wildcard Super GT entry. Out, as was the number 92. But how about this? Jeffrey Lee couldn't see a thing, or could he? He was still on the racing line. Hamaguchi, Anthony Liu and Keynes Yang then went at it. And look at this, side by side, the two of them. Anthony Liu really aggressive early on. Hamaguchi trying to hold on. Closing stages, and Rizzo would try to hold on to the lead. Richard Lyons up the inside, followed by Rob Bell, the two Brits going into first and second place. The black flag showed for Richard Lyons after a pit stop incident.
Stay out, stay out.
So taking the checkered flag was the Aston Martin of Richard Lyons in Clearwater Racing. In second place, Rob Bell in the number 32 McLaren. So the series moves to Fuji Speedway in Japan, in the heart of the Japanese countryside, located in the Shizuoka Prefecture, and of course, under the watchful eye of the great Mount Fuji. Let's look back now at the action from round 5. A rolling start down the long Fuji straight, but as the 30-plus field filed towards turn 1, it all got a bit murky for Clearwater as the teammates touch with Rob Bell hitting the back of Kitasawa.
I apologised to him for it was just a small error.
But still, we are okay. We could stay on the track.
If that was a kiss, German Stefan Muka was not quite so affectionate with Ferrari rival Rui Argas hitting the back of him, much to the displeasure of the Portuguese driver.
Keep on hitting me 3 times on the back.
I got hit by a Nissan from the back, then I hit the Ferrari in front of me.
On then to the checkered flag, and victory for Kitasawa and Mok Wen-sung. Winners now in Fuji, previously at Autopolis in Japan.
Today, fantastic. It's so difficult to explain my feeling now. Today was a memory day for my racing career.
So on to a look back at round 6. And while things were perfect for the fans and the autograph session leading up to the race, things changed dramatically just before the start, as the weather that had lashed the mountain earlier in the week in terms of a typhoon returned with gusto. Treacherous conditions for the rolling start for round 6, and nerves were high for the less experienced gentleman drivers. They certainly weren't holding back. Anthony Liu in the Ferrari passing the poleman Hamaguchi to turn 1, his now trademark outside move. Then while leading, the 37 was given a drive-through penalty for crossing a line. His teammate David Arizo was furious. The Spirit of Race Ferrari was soon out of contention. But then there was more drama, as Piti Bourbakti spun in the closing stages from second place.
Because the rain stop and start, and I run over the speed.
Then amazingly, a stop-go penalty for the 32 McLaren of Bell and Hamaguchi while leading the race.
I think it's something to do with pit lane time.
In the closing stages, it was a classic battle as Mize took the lead. Sauer, determined mood at home, would not accept second place. Sauer had to give way, and the young German on his debut weekend in the series and in Japan, Christopher Mize wins round 6 in Fuji.
To win a race is never easy, but today we managed to do it, and thanks to all the guys. I mean, this was quite fantastic. I'm here for the first time Japan, and just enjoyed it, and yeah, so it was great racing out there, I think.
We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more action from Sepang after this. Welcome back from Sepang in Malaysia, the venue for rounds 7 through 10 of the series, before heading to China and the grand finale at the Macau Grand Prix in November. It's been without doubt the strongest and most competitive field ever gathered in GT racing in the region. Let's look back now at the highlights of round 7. The Audi's on pole, but it was Rui Argus in the Ferrari who would hound them, both Alex Young and Christopher Mize, right to that first corner. He would lead into turn 1 while Young went wide.
We're losing so much time down the straights compared to the Ferraris. They just went by.
Daryl Young watching from the Craft Bamboo pits as Frank Yu took over after an excellent stint by Germany's Stefan Muka. And it wasn't long before Frank Yu was hot on the heels of the leaders, and he wasted no time in getting past.
I knew I was going to pass them in the first 2 laps, but never expected to pass them both in the first lap, so I was quite happy.
Another man on a mission was the 458 Ferrari of China's Anthony Liu. From 6th, he carved his way through the field with some daring attacks. He seemed to be capable at every corner, scything his way from 6th to 2nd place in just a matter of laps. Frank Yu then wins for Hong Kong and Germany. Aston Martin victorious again in Asia. And once again, the conditions were, well, picture perfect. Vudekorn and Anthony Liu continued their battle. Try as he might, Vudekorn just couldn't hold off the hard-charging Chinese, and into the lead went Liu. On track, the Ferrari was in fine fettle. Then the BBT team had to take their pit stops, and that's when the problems began. A wheel nut sticking in their pit stops lost them precious seconds and probably the race. And more to come after this incident when Stefan Muka and the Aston Martin pushed the Porsche and both spun out, allowing Jonathan Venter to go through in the 2nd Aston Martin.
If you drive faster, you can wait for a straight way. It's only a second from where he hit me.
Out came the checkered flag for Japan's Kitasawa in the Ferrari, just ahead of Max Bizer, 2nd place in the Aston Martin. Aoki took victory in the GTM class in the Delango Lamborghini, but it was his first international victory for his teammate, a delighted Ken Arata.
The first time here, very happy, very, very happy. My dream day. Thank you all.
As round 9 got underway. A great rolling start by the Ferraris. Kitasawa immediately under pressure from Rui Argus in the identical silver and black 458. Guidi settling in for 3rd place. His teammate Richard Wee was waiting in the wings for his compulsory pit stop. On track, and Guidi and Werdheim went wheel to wheel at turn 15. Guidi got through, he almost missed the follow through onto the main straight. Werdheim barely missing, shunting him. Then got his chances, he made the run down to turn 1. He did get through, but Guidi soon deflated his hopes of a good result with an over-ambitious attack on his left rear tyre.
I tried to pass him because I was so fast in the corner, but I wasn't able to keep behind him in the straight, and for that we touched it.
He basically took me out in turn 2. I got a puncture straight away, and that was it, race over for us.
The drama wasn't over. Guidi went on, but his hopes too were unravelling. So too was his car. The pit stops were soon imminent, and it was time for a team talk for the amateurs. But at those pit stops, there was problems for several of the top teams, including the hard-charging Rizzo and Anthony Liu.
We had a right front puncture, so we changed one tyre.
They weren't the only ones having problems. Same was true for Craft Bamboo and Stefan Muka and Frank Yu. They missed their marks coming into the pits, and then on track as well. And that meant it was Muzayin leading Mok Weng Sung on the charge. And Mok really was, on new rubber, unstoppable.
We felt we had to be aggressive today with the championship getting ever so much closer. So we went quite aggressive. I went onto new tyres.
And that was all they needed as Mok crosses the line to win round 9. Liu in 2nd place and Bizer in 3rd. On then to round 10, and a huge downpour leading up to the start meant it was gamble time in terms of understanding the conditions for tyres at the start. Some went on slicks and some on wets. Who was right? And as the race got underway fully, it was obvious that this was an afternoon that wouldn't be child's play. Even the most experienced and accomplished drivers at Sepang were prone to rare mistakes like Mock at turn 14.
Had a bit of a spin, so I dropped myself, I think, to like 16th or 18th place and had to claw my way back. So it was a tough day.
Christopher Mize at Audi looked nervously on as his teammate was caught by the slick-shod Frank Yu.
Because we had nothing to lose on a Sunday. So we took the risk. I made the right call and put on the slicks.
And he wasn't done yet. He was soon past Max Wiese in the Aston Martin and Anthony Liu as well in the Ferrari to take the lead. Richard Wee was also flying on slicks as he passed Hamaguchi for 4th place.
All because of one decision to go on slicks.
And that decision gave Richard Wee in the Ferrari his best stint of the season. But it was more than that. While he may have had the advantage on slicks, he drove hard and fast and made no mistakes. Then, took the lead.
After the track drive, it was quite easy and very enjoyable.
With the pit stops done and the professionals behind the wheel, it was a walk in the park for Stefan Muka. Frank Yu had made his stint a breeze. His run to the checkered flag was just that. And after the race was over, there was problems for some of the contenders. Rizzo and Liu and the Aston pair of Muka and Yu were all penalised after both infringed the rules of attendance of the car. One before the start and one during the pit stops. That handed victory to Clearwater's Richard Wee and Alexandro Guidi. So with 10 rounds gone, Rob Bell and Hamaguchi have a slender lead now of just 2 points over Sauer and Mock. Rizzo and Liu are still in the hunt with 119 points, and then it drops down to 108 with Frank Yu and Wiese with 96 points. It had been a positive day for most, but the racing is what counts. After the break, we'll find out who came out on top in Shanghai. Welcome back to GT Asia. Last few rounds before the grand finale in Macau of this year's 2014 GT Asia Championship. Let's look back then at the highlights of round 11. And a frenetic rolling start for round 11 as Anthony Liu tried to defend his pole position. It was sideswiped by Richard Lyons in the Aston Martin as they went into turn 1 and then lost out to the Bentley in turn 2.
Just at that moment, I got a little tap on the left from maybe the Audi. The Bentley appeared, and it appeared and went straight to P1.
And there was more drama behind Lyons as the Audi of Christopher Mize came to blows. He was hit by another car, and that damaged the left rear, and he had to make an early pit stop. Meanwhile, falling into the clutches of a Ferrari was the Bentley of Varnelay, as Davide Rizzo, now in the car, went through and into the lead.
And I saw the Bentley was a bit struggling because they just came out, the tires probably was not that ready and everything. So
the checkered flag then out for round 11, and it's an excellent win at just the right time from Yu and Rizzo. Yu winning at home in Shanghai, the pair closing the gap on the leaders even further. On then to the penultimate round of the year, and once again the Ferrari of BBT and Davide Rizzo was on pole position. But it was the NB team's Aston Martin of Jiang Xin who made the better start on the right-hand side. But then disaster for Davide Rizzo, who picked a fight he didn't need with the bulky Bentley. This David and Goliath fight went to the British Bentley as the Ferrari went careering into the pit lane with damage to the suspension. Richard Wee was a wee bit late on the brakes into turn 14 and almost took out his Clearwater teammate Mock.
I was about to turn in already. When I saw his car come through, I decided not to turn in.
I'm going to buy him drinks tonight, so everything's going to be fine.
Meanwhile, it was hotting up on track as Jeffrey Lee in the Audi on the left and Mock in the Ferrari on the right come to blows, not just once, but twice. And in the final time, Jeffrey Lee just hitting the front of the Ferrari and smashing into the wall in a massive shunt.
Right, and it was quite a heavy crash. I didn't think there was contact that could have easily been avoided. He just didn't leave me any room.
Actually, the accident was quite a big hit, and also at a really wrong spot, so my car was really badly damaged.
But in the end, round 12's victory went to first-time winners this year at the perfect time at home, MB teams Zhang Xin and Max Visa. But sadly, their celebrations were short-lived, as there was a sting in the tail in Shanghai. But just as the celebrations for the podium were dying down, Zhang Xin and Max Visa, as well as Frank Yu and the Aston Martin, were told that their pit stop times were too short. They would be penalised. And that gave Richard Wee and Matt Griffin victory, with Mock and Sauer in second place. So a dramatic end to the final round before Macau here in Shanghai, and plenty to talk about. So after 12 rounds, Sauer and Mock Wen-sung now hit the front and lead ahead of their teammates Rob Bell and Hamaguchi.
How are you?
We look back now at the highlights of the final round at Macau as part of the Invitational Macau GT Cup. The front Audi would take on Mercedes for outright honours, and in the melee of the midfield was the battle between Anthony Yu, Mock Wen-sung and Hong Kong's Frank Yu for the overall Asia Championship. Here we go then, a massive field of GTs for the GT Cup 2014. An Audi front row led by Mortara. Here we go, away we go, and already Earl Bamber wants a piece of the action as he tries to go to the outside, then to the inside, then gets squeezed out. And the Mercedes have come from nowhere. They've beaten both the Audis to the first corner, and as they head down to Mandarin, what a start by the AMG Mercedes, and they have been duffed up severely.
And I could see the Audis were struggling to get away, and then the only way past was on the outside, and it managed.
And that's the thing about this race, is that it only needs one slower car at that section, at that point, and suddenly, boy, everything's reset.
But anyway, you know, it was they were pulling away in the first and third sector, and then of course, you know, if you're behind in the second sector, even if you're faster, you cannot do anything.
Towards the final bend to totally dominate this GT Cup of 2014. Maro Engel, having not finished last year, takes victory finally this year, and he does it in sweet style. That was a performance and a half by Mercedes.
It feels awesome. It's amazing. You know, it's the feeling that I was hoping for last year, and we got it now. Guys, come on! Come on!
Understandable jubilance then for Mercedes and Maro Engel with that win. As for Clearwater Racing in GT Asia, they lost the battle but won the war as Anthony Yu and the Ferrari beat Mock. But Mock was the new 2014 champion.
Second in the race, which is I'm happy with. That was my goal. It's been very difficult to try to win the race today, but the focus was on the championship, and we have the championship for the third time, so the feeling is fantastic. We're going to party hard tonight.
So then, after a long, hard season, 13 rounds, and Mock Wen-sung wins with 164 points ahead of Anthony Liu with 159. Sauer of Japan has 156 in third place. Clearwater Racing are the champions of the Teams Championship with 340 points. A massive haul over Craft Bamboo AMR with 189. Absolute Racing in third. In GTM, Jackie Young beats Aoki and Fordback for the championship with 156 points. Another long, hard battle all season long. So congratulations to all the winners of GT Asia. Mock Wen-sung, runners-up Riso and Liu, Hamaguchi and Rob Bell, and in GTM, Jackie Young and the Teams Championship, Clearwater Racing. Another brilliant season of GT Asia ends as the championship goes from strength to strength. It is now becoming one of the most sought-after prizes in GT racing the world over. Until 2015, for another classic season ahead, from me, Jonathan Green, and everyone at Motorsport Asia, we'll see you next year.